Meeting August 19, 2024. Madam Clerk, can you start us with the prayer and pledge, please?
Thank you for bringing us together today in a spirit of generosity. May we honor one another by keeping an open mind. May we voice our truth and listen with an open heart. May we discern your will to unite in fruitful outcome. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Biergard?
Here.
Ms. Hamilton? Here. Mrs. O'Hara?
Present.
Mr. Ogier?
Here.
Ms. Alves?
Here. Is there anyone here to speak at open forum? Are you here for open forum? Oh, you're not? Okay. So, all right, because we were going to partake in open forum and then do it again, but if you're not, okay. Next, so we're going to move open forum down to after we get out of executive session and the restart of the meeting. Next item is executive session, a discussion by council vote or other action pursuant to Rhode Island General Law 42-46-5A2, sessions pertaining to collective bargaining or litigation, or work sessions pertaining to collective bargaining or litigation or potential litigation. 1, Leonard, Pezza, and Constance Pezza and Material Sand and Stone Corp versus Town of North Smithfield. Case number 99-1811, and Material and Sand Stone Corp. and C. Pezza and Sons, Inc. versus Town of North Smithfield, case number 91-5374, consolidated in the court decision as Pound Hill Realty, LLC, versus Town of North Smithfield, case number PC 1991-5374 and PC 1999-1811. 2, Town of Barrington et al. Versus State of Rhode Island et al. Case number PC 2019-10870. And 3, potential litigation.
I'll make a motion to move into executive session.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Biergard?
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton?
Yes.
Mrs. O'Hara? Yes. Mr. Ogier?
Yes.
Ms. Alves?
Yes. Okay, thank you.
Sit in on it.
In session. Let the record reflect that two votes were taken. One vote.
Sorry, excuse me. Go ahead.
Let the record reflect 2 votes were taken. One we got in the matter of Town of Barrington versus State of Rhode Island. Transfer the services from Attorney Travares to MGM Attorney Kavanaugh in the amount. For the TA to sign and the retainer in the amount of $2,894.43.
Second?
That's a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Just to also seal the minutes.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Mr. Biragad.
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton.
Yes.
Mrs. O'Hara. Mr. Ogier.
Yes.
Ms. Alves.
Yes. All right, open forum, non-agenda items only pursuant to 42-46-6D, maximum 3 minutes per person. Is there anyone that would like to sign up for open forum? Thank you. Thank you. If you could state your name, please.
Hi, my name is Alexander Azar,
Could you spell your last name?
A-Z-A-R,
And your address?
1069 Great Road, Lincoln, Rhode Island.
Okay. And if you could just keep it to minimum, to a maximum of 3 minutes, please.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Alexander Azar. I am a candidate in the upcoming primary for the Democrat State Senate District 17. Early voting starts Wednesday. Primary day September 10th, so I just wanted to introduce myself, just talk about what motivated me and the top issues. I'm motivated to run because of my grandfather. He spent 20 years as a judge and a town solicitor, Louis Azar, and a Democratic committee in Lincoln. And I decided to run because of my support for teachers. Additionally, so motivated to run in Lincoln, and I'm seeking to support all of the towns in the district because I want to support teachers because of the COLA, to help restore the COLA for teachers because a lot of them didn't get into Social Security. I want to help our police with supporting speed reduction and help get the tractor trailers away from residential roads. And I want to support more infrastructure to make sure the roads are accessible for everybody, and community-based services for our retirees and for our students with special needs to make sure that they can get treatment at home if they so choose. I will be, so thank you for your time. I will be in the Valley Breeze this Thursday if you want to see my top issues are additionally. And then at 6 o'clock, I'll be at the Gator Pub this Thursday if you'd like to meet me. If you have a chance to read the Valley Breeze, I'll be available for any questions. And I have a Facebook profile, Alexander E. Azar State Senate on Facebook. Feel free to message me at any time. I'm very responsive, and I want to learn to be the best senator and representative for your town I can be. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you. CJ, do we have the timer going?
I'll.
You have it?
Yeah.
Okay,
I got one.
thank you. Anyone else like to open forum?
That spreadsheet there, I left those there. This is Richard Grubb from Fowler Street. Tonight I'd just like to talk about a new thing I noticed having to do with the Greenville road property under the Pezza material, sand and gravel. I was looking up tax records, and I noticed a couple of things. About the time they did the quit claim, their property was significantly increased. Up to one lot was $1.8 million. All of their property was assessed at over $5 million. They appealed that assessment. And the assessment went down the following year from 5.5 million to 900,000. It's about an 84% reduction. One heck of an appeal. I wish I could appeal in similar ways. So I did ask the tax office about it. Jennifer St. George pointed out that back then it was accepted by the assessor. It was accepted by the town council, and it was accepted by the evaluation firm that does the property valuations. So, okay, that might be feasible, huge difference. And then I also noticed there's been no change in their assessments since that time. Since 2015, their assessments have been the same every year right up until this year. The rest of us are getting reassessed quite frequently. I wondered if there's a specific reason for this, if it was just an oversight. And the last thing you'll see, I just made a tiny note over lot number 015221 that the product, that one was reassessed in 2022. It went from 283,000 to 384,000. I thought that's an interesting change. And I looked, they added a building. They added a building worth $140-something thousand. Their previous assessment was $283,000 for just the land. The land was reduced, and I can't see that little number. I think it was $145,000. So they cut the land value in half and then added on the building, which ended up not being much of a difference. So my question to the council is, you know I'm frustrated with the way that company does business, but it just seems they haven't been a good neighbor, and we've been more than a good host. And I think it's time to really look at some of these dust issues, tax issues, road use permits. You know, they're still driving before 7 o'clock in the morning. They're still picking up at the quarry. Why? That was their idea. Well, let's please abide by it.
Thank you, Mr.
How'd I
Brown.
do?
A little bit over, but thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Anyone else like to speak in open forum? Anyone else? Okay. Discussion by council vote or other action on payment of bills. Anyone have any questions or comments?
No, all set.
Any questions? Anyone like to make a motion to approve the payment of bills?
Madam President, I'll make a motion to approve the payment of bills in the amount of $3,634,052.00.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Biragad.
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton.
Yes.
Mrs. O'Hara. Mr. Ogier.
Yes.
Ms. Alves.
Yes. Discussion by council vote or other action on consent agenda. All items listed in this section are considered in one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council requests, in which event the item will be removed from the consent agenda. A, Town Council minutes of June 24th and 25th, July 15th and 24th, and August 5th, 2024. Communications from Animal Control Monthly Report of July 2024. North Smithfield Fire and Rescue Report for July of 2024. North Smithfield Municipal Court Monthly Report for July 2024. And North Smithfield Police Department Monthly Report for July 2024. Anyone like to have anything removed?
Madam President, I'd like to remove the minutes of August 5th. And, sorry, I just had it. Definitely August 5th for the right now. No, I had a note somewhere, I lost it.
Anyone else?
Oh, and July 15th.
Anyone else? No. Okay, Mr. Ogier?
Just real quick, on the August 5th minutes, it says, at least mine does, it says for Gary, it's missing a Y on the open forum. So that should be Gary Zosky, not Gary Zosky. Aside from that, that one was okay. And then nothing wrong in the July 15th minutes, but I just want to, I know in that meeting, we had talked about getting deadlines with the grants, and I think it would just be helpful, especially with some of the federal funding grants, that we have those deadlines the next time G&G does a report. Aside from that, that's it. Just want clarity.
Okay. Anyone else have any further discussion or comments? Anyone like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended?
I'll make a motion to approve as amended.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Biragad.
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton.
Yes.
Mrs. O'Hara. Mr. Ogier.
Yes.
Ms. Alves.
Yes. Old business discussion by council vote or other action on Economic Development Commission's recommendation to award bid for Route 146 Waterline Tax Increment Financing TIF request for proposal, RFP. Mr. Byron?
Steve Byron, 2000 Province Pike. I believe you got a letter that I also wrote recommending the council to award the bid to Camion Associates. If you had a chance to look at the proposal, if you have any questions.
I have one quick, I have one quick question, I guess, for right now. So in here, Madam President, if I may, in here, it said that it'll be working with the town and this firm, and I'm assuming is that, it mentioned the Economic Development Commission. I'm assuming your group will lead it, but then also bring in
Yes.
members of the council, the administration, and other members as needed?
Anybody who wants to show up, really, I guess, you know.
Perfect.
Quick question, do you have an idea of how long this part of the project will take?
I believe it said it in, I don't know off the top of my head, I believe it was in here, it was supposed to be, I think 90 days, but don't hold me to it. I know it was in here.
Okay.
And just as a reminder, this money is coming from the EDC
EDC,
fund,
yeah,
right?
right.
Okay.
Yeah, we have, according to the finance director, the balance is roughly 59,000, so we're more than enough covered.
Okay. And is this company ready to go right now, once, if,
I couldn't tell you, I have not, the only one that could tell you, I guess, would be the town planner. He was the one who was in, we only reviewed it, we never sat with them, we only reviewed the proposal.
Before we ask the town planner, is there supposed to be a contract in here?
Yeah, I didn't see one.
Is it in here?
I didn't see it.
Okay, I know there's a budget, there's different alternative services,
Right.
but it doesn't have, this is just more of a generic, like they're kind of, thing. So is there anything that we have that shows what the scope of work would be and how the timeline would be implemented or executed?
I'm sure it's in here. And we only recommended doing phase one.
Right,
That's to test the feasibility of it, right?
Yes.
okay, can we ask the town planner?
Mr. Carrillo?
Yeah, I didn't see one. I just saw the bid sheet.
And I don't know how the process works, but I'm assuming that it falls in the town planner to contact them, or,
No, I don't think so. I think that's the Economic Development Corp, but there's nothing in here. This is just basically a proposal, but without specifics, which I don't know why that is.
I read specifics in here myself. I don't know what you're talking about as far as what you're looking for, but it's listed in here.
So, Mr. Byron, I think what Councilwoman Hamilton's trying to say is sometimes we get proposals and then in the back, it looks like the bid sheet was here, but there's no like authorization for the TA to sign to enter
This,
into the
this is all we
arrangement.
received from,
So maybe we just
from
need
the
an extra
town, so-
document.
and just to refresh your memory, we're only a recommendation board. We don't make the final decision, so.
Right.
I mean, personally, I don't know why I'm here doing this. I believe it should be a town personnel, whether it's the finance director or the town planner. I don't understand why I had to be here 4 times to do this.
So that was gonna be one of my other questions is, I think it should probably, I think the Economic Development Commission should have a role, but I don't think it should fall on that board to be the one that's leading this whole initiative, especially since, you know, it does run through 146 and we have had discussions about it. I think they play an important role, but I don't think it should be solely on them. And then some of the other questions I would like to look at in this proposal is, do we have the capability to manage the TIF if it is feasible with our internal resources, or do we are these things usually managed by external third parties to help, you know, advise the handling of these funds? I'm sure that will come out, but I'm just something to pay attention to. But if we don't have the contract, I think we should have the planner or the administrator or the finance director reach out and get the contract so that we can review it.
I'd just like to, you know, remind everybody that it is time sensitive as far as getting this done, to get this project going. We don't want to miss the window, and instead of costing us $500,000 if we go through with it and spend $7 million. So, and on page 5, it says project scope for phase 1.
What was that, Mr. Administrator? 12 months?
12 months for phase 1 and 2 on project scope is that's how long the estimate is today.
Let me repeat, the mic wasn't on. So as Chairperson Byron pointed out, project scope, page 5, the TIF district master plan, they have broken down our scope into 2 phases to be conducted over the course of 12 months.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Solicitor, how should we advise, how would you advise moving forward pending no contract for signature? Would you say that the scope is good enough or that we need?
I would authorize the execution of a contract that includes scope that you're satisfied with and the bid that you're satisfied with.
Okay, so those 2 should be sufficient enough?
And as long as the contract includes this scope and these activities and that bid amount, I think you can expedite it for Mr. Byron and the town. As long as you're satisfied with that, I'd authorize the execution to that effect.
Okay.
If I may, just to reiterate that, I believe the conversation went toward phase 1, is that correct, Chair? Phase 1 for $32,500.
Correct.
And from that, later on, if the town wishes, they can extend that scope to phase 2.
Right. Depending on the outcome of phase 1.
Correct.
If we feel it's warranted, then we come back and look at phase 2.
So those 2, but those don't include the alternate scenarios, right? The alternative scenarios of the market analysis and the economic and fiscal impact development scenarios?
No.
Those are separate that we could
Correct.
explore later on? Okay.
Correct.
I feel comfortable.
Mr. Carullo, have you reviewed this? Have you reviewed this?
Have I reviewed that document?
Yeah.
No, well, yeah, to a degree I have. I didn't hear what the comment was with regard to the planning department, but whatever questions you have, I can try to answer to the best of my ability. This is not a project that originated in the planning department.
Can I?
Project that originated with the Economic Development Commission. I was invited to a meeting, which I attended. At the meeting, there was a discussion about putting together an RFP to hire a consultant to look at the feasibility of establishing a TIF. So, coming out of that meeting, some documents were provided to me by an individual at the meeting. I developed from that document an RFP. We sent that out. This was the only response that came back. The response came to me. I did review the response. Then I forwarded it to the Economic Development Commission for their review and recommendation to the council. That was my role. I don't know that my role is beyond that.
So did they satisfy all the requirements of the
They,
RFP?
they did satisfy the requirements of the RFP, that is correct.
Thank
And
you.
that's broken down into
Yeah, it's pretty
different
detailed.
you know,
Yeah.
segments, and then there's a whole à la carte menu associated with it that is also on top of the two
Phases.
phases.
May I? So I guess my question would be, execution would be done by whom? Like, so for instance, it says here, project kickoff, our team will conduct a virtual meeting with town staff and the North Smithfield Economic Development Commission. During this kickoff meeting, we'll review scope, discuss existing details, present and discuss TIF Rhode Island, discuss and plan for communications and project management and engagement and a site visit. Like, who is going to be doing that?
I can't answer that. At this point, I can't answer that question. If I'm directed to do that, I will do that. But
So, as far as you're concerned, Mr. Byron, I mean, you're a volunteer organization,
Correct.
right? So you don't have any responsibility at this juncture going forward.
I would think that, again, just like Mark said, it would have to come from you people to give us the authority to go on.
That's why I was asking. I think it sounds like it's a partnership between the Development Commission, the administration, the council, and other parties inside planning, zoning, whoever you want to have. And I think that team is to be determined.
Okay.
Who's leading it, I think, is important.
Yeah.
I don't think it necessarily should fall necessarily all on a volunteer group. Or as if they don't get a quorum all of a sudden,
Right.
then the project stalls out. So,
Sure.
you know, I think there should probably be a council designee on there. But I don't know, do we need to decide? We should probably have that decided sooner.
We're on a schedule now.
I'm sorry, what?
For all this paperwork, we're on a schedule because we have our funding given. And if we don't use it within a certain time, we lose it.
No.
No, this is separate of the other 146 water issue. This is a whole separate thing, yeah.
Well, at a minimum, we gotta get this moving, and then we can, we gotta get this going, get this approved.
Yeah.
And then,
Then we can
that's not
figure
gonna
out
happen
who.
overnight, and then in the meantime, we can start organizing and, figure out what, what Mr. Ojo was just talking about as far as getting, figure out who's gonna be our point person or our point committee.
Yeah.
And, but in the meantime, I'd say we gotta get this, approve this and get the ball rolling. That it is very time sensitive. I mean, we were started very late, but right from the beginning. We were behind the 8 ball from day one on this. And we're lucky that we still have an opportunity to even do something.
If I may, I think also the council should make a decision as far as who's going to be tonight, the point person, as far as contacting them, that they're gonna get the bid or whatever, so there's no confusion.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But who is that person?
Well, I don't know, but I'm
'Cause-
saying, I think if you're gonna execute anything, somebody has to be the
It should be
executioner.
a town employee.
At least,
You know?
yeah, well, at least on I think whoever it is, we should probably revisit, because like I know Mark's office, like I don't think anyone realizes
know how
the
much
the subdivision regulations and all the changes come from the state. That's a very time-consuming
Yeah.
process.
Yeah.
And, I know we hear how much he does for the grants and for other things, so to keep falling on him without additional help,
I think it's a lot.
there may be too much on his plate at some point. Not to
So
put you
Mark,
on the
would you
spot,
like to
but-
make a suggestion who should be the point person, since, you review it and,
I mean, I have no issue with me reaching out to the consultant if the council awards the bid to inform them that they've received the bid and initiate the coordination as far as to the depth of what that's going to involve. We may want to consider or reconsider who the primary point of contact would be. If I'm directed to do it, I'll certainly do it. I mean, that's my job. I'll do what I'm asked to do.
Well, I would think, administrator, if you're gonna be doing the signing of the contract when we get one, which we don't have one right now, but we will, right? We're gonna draft one or have something that you'll be able to sign, because there's nothing here for you to sign, right? We'll be authorizing you to sign, but there's nothing here for you to sign right now. Can you get in touch with them and just let them know that they've had, you know, gotten the bid was the one that's been awarded, and
This is a response to an RFP.
Like
So-
Planner Carullo said, we are all stretched and overburdened with time constraints.
right,
I heard that Councilor Osier recommended that a council liaison be appointed. You're all stretched, you all have. So if, I think, following up on what Councilor Beauregard said, if you approve it, the planner will reach out to the company to say we're ready to move forward. But there has to be some type of committee to pick this up, a member of finance, a member of planning, a member of town council. It's how we usually organize these type of committees. But time is of the essence, so we have to look at how much time people have to actually facilitate this. Mr. Byron's a very successful business operator. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Byron, 70 hours a week minimum on your job.
No, not anymore.
Not anymore?
That's why I have a son.
You're in charge.
So we can at least get a contract and at least
Yeah.
get it going.
Yes.
And
I think
then
we
we can
need to
find the
start there.
committee, and we can put the committee together.
Who
Just,
would be responsible for drawing up the contract?
that
They
would be, it would be this company.
They would.
I would probably reach out to the company, have them send us their boilerplate contract, which would be tied to the RFP, you know, the first phase, send that over to David for his review.
Right.
Any changes, amendments he would do, he would send back to them, they would incorporate them, and then it would be ready for signature.
Right,
Okay.
yeah, that would be great.
So then to keep this conversation moving, Madam President, if I may, I'll make a motion to approve the proposal from Camion Associates as approved by the Economic Development Commission in using the bid proposal and the bid sheet and the budgeted amount of $58,000 for phase 1 and 2 to work.
phase
We're asking
one.
phase
Phase
one.
one.
All right, then just
One.
phase 1, amended to phase 1.
And authorize.
And then to authorize the TA to sign a contract, assuming it meets those parameters.
Project one scope,
Yep, project 1 scope
bid
and
amount of 32.5.
bid amount of 32.5.
Second,
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Biragad.
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton.
yes,
Mrs. O'Hara.
Yes.
Mr. Ogier.
Yes.
Ms. Alves.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Byron. Discussion by council vote or other action on North Smithfield Fire and Rescue Award of bid for a purchase of a new rescue boat. Chief Chaudier?
Good evening. As part of our 2025 fiscal year capital budget, we received $10,500 for a new rescue boat. This is the second of two. Last year, you approved funding for the first one. We get that. That's online. Back a few weeks ago, we went out to bid, and we received all the bids, and we're recommending that Defender Industries be awarded the bid for $10,317. That's all gone through finance. Tony's reviewed everything.
okay. So you had the three bids, and they're the lowest.
Yes.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve Defender Industries, be paid $10,317 for a North Smithfield Fire and Rescue boat that is 14-foot 1-inch inflatable rescue boat with a 7-person capacity, aluminum floor made with commercial grade Hypalon fabric, color red or gray. Also including the Yamaha or equivalent 25 horsepower fuel injected 4-stroke manual starting, tiller steering, and manual tilt, for a total of $10,317.
Second.
That's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Biragad.
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton.
Yes.
Mrs. O'Hara.
Yes.
Mr. Ogier.
Yes.
Ms. Alves.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
Discussion by council vote or other action on petition for zone change from manufacturing to residential urban for the purpose of constructing a 4-unit residential building at High Rocks. Attorney Charles Redahan, the third.
This is the first reading. public hearing, right, Madam President?
Do you have to make a motion to open it?
Well, I think I just wanted to make clear, it's first reading, and then after Mr. Brennahan's
We'll open
presentation.
the public. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Charles Redahan. I'm an attorney, duly licensed by the state of Rhode Island. I'm before you this evening representing High Rocks 2 LLC, the owner of a parcel of land located at 1 Tupperware Drive in the town of North Smithfield, and more specifically described as Assessor's Plat 3, Lot 2A. We're before you this evening seeking a zone change to that property, specifically to amend the zoning ordinance of that property from manufacturing to residential urban. The applicant seeks to construct a 4-unit development on the property. All units will have 3 bedrooms. By way of brief background, the property is located on a vacant lot that abuts the High Rocks condominium development, consists of approximately 40,000 feet of total land area. This matter came before the planning board on March 14th of this year. Following that meeting, we received a favorable recommendation from the planning board in regard to the zone change aspect of the petition. This matter returned to the planning board last month, seeking master plan approval for the construction of the 4 units. They voted unanimously in approval. In their recorded decision, they cited the development's consistency with the comprehensive plan, found that there'd be adequate physical access to a public street, and there would be no significant environmental impacts from the proposed development. Additionally, the recorded decision noted that the applicant had commissioned a traffic study that showed that there would be no adverse effects associated with the proposed development. In addition to the zone change, we're seeking dimensional relief in regard to maximum lot density, which follows each additional bedroom, as the units will all have 3 bedrooms and the property is approximately 1 acre in overall land area. The corresponding number of permissible bedrooms is 9.5, so we need a minor special recognition for this increased density, as well as for lot frontage and lot width. With me this evening is Edward Pimentel. Mr. Pimentel prepared a complimentary report that accompanied the application regarding the development of Lot 2A. Mr. Pimentel will speak to his educational background, his credentials, as well as the proposed development's consistency with both the comprehensive plan and the future land use map, and the many benefits to be realized by the town of North Smithfield.
Good evening. Edward Pimentel for the record. I have both a bachelor's and a master's in urban planning. I've been a municipal planner for 35 years, working in Rhode Island, Florida, Massachusetts, and I've had my, my own consulting practice for the last 20+ years. I was asked by Council Redahan to take a look at this project prior to preparing a report and coming to some conclusions to be presented to the planning board for advisory purposes and to assist in the obtaining the master plan approval, which is the first stage of approval in this development, and also to obtain, hopefully, we did, a positive recommendation to ultimately the council, who's the arbitrating authority on zone changes. Just quickly, by a quick way of background, when you're reviewing a comprehensive plan, you're looking through all the respective goals and objectives and the respective elements. It culminates in the land use element and then ultimately in the future land use map, which is basically the vision from the community as to how they expect the various areas of their respective community to develop in the future. So there's great credence and reliance on that future land use map. And in fact, Rhode Island general law says that subsequent to that, when you adopt your zoning code and your zoning map, you have to be consistent with that future land use map, because that's where all of the energy is put in and your desires. This municipality determined that this property is not appropriate for industrial development. It remains industrial because no one's gotten around to amending that, but it needs to be rendered consistent with the future land use map, which talks about high-density residential. Typically, then a municipality within a certain amount of time is supposed to get around to realizing that consistency. It's a difficult, just as Mr. Carullo and this community spoke to the last matter, where you're overstaffed, most communities are, They just don't have the staffing, the manpower. It's just a lot of work. So they allow the applicant or a property owner to come forward and pursue that regulatory requirement. It's normal, customary in all 39 cities and towns. In fact, now, just as of March of this year, the Rhode Island general law was even reinforced in this regard. It said that because there's been great difficulty in realizing consistency with zoning in the comprehensive plan, that in the case of a development, all future land use decisions now will be dependent on the future land use map. So that's got a lot of people scrounging to get their comp plans and the future land use maps crystal clean as to what their future intentions are, because all decisions will now have to be made on that future land use map. So relying on that, it was easy for me to come to a determination of consistency. We're actually pursuing that which this community has directed us to do, and that is to seek this zone change. One final point is that quite often, too, there's a segment of your zoning districts that rely on a particular future land use classification. So that gives you some credence as to which one would be most appropriate. In this case, there was no options. The RU district is the sole zoning designation that equates with this land use classification. This is what needs to be pursued. This is what this community is directed, and that's what we are pursuing tonight. If you have any questions.
I have a question. How many bedrooms are you planning on building inside the unit?
Each unit will have 3 bedrooms.
Okay. And then per the planning board's stipulations, you're still, well, you have to receive town water and town sewer from town of Blackstone? Where are you in that process?
That's correct. I have had conversations with the solicitor for the town of Blackstone. There is a 2009 Worcester Superior Court decision granting that access, or I should say affirming that access to water and sewer to this parcel of property. To this point, the conversations have been productive. Obviously, the council is able to attach whatever conditions that they see fit. So if that condition is attached, which I anticipate it will be if this is granted, it would certainly be a prerequisite. This project would not go forward without receiving that from the town of Blackstone.
So where, I'm pretty familiar with the property. So where are you looking at compared to, like, relative to the main building?
Can I?
Yeah. Is this?
You have my report, page 3 of 10. This is the main mill, it's the lot right there.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you.
Is it possible to get a copy of your report?
Yeah, actually, I've got some.
If you, oh, that'd be great.
I wasn't sure if they had forwarded.
No, I don't have it.
It's actually right here.
Here's one.
Thank you so much.
I also brought a copy of the Rhode Island General Law that went into effect March. It's highlighted what was effective until March and what's effective now is in March this
Yeah.
year.
Okay, good. Thank you.
So,
Go ahead.
the existing parking, right? So these new units that come in, is it the parking lot, the parking footprint's not changing, I'm assuming, or are you adding additional parking, and if so, where?
I believe the plans reflect driveways. I'm not sure if you have the site plan as part of your packet, and I think CJ had mentioned we can't pull it up on the. I apologize. The site plan does reflect the parking as well. I'm not sure if that's included in your materials.
I didn't see it, but maybe we can get a bigger map for the
The what,
next
the
time.
site plan?
Is this the site plan?
Right here.
Okay. Okay.
Oh, I think I left that with you.
I can't believe I don't have that right. Can't believe I didn't take that.
Okay.
So, reading the background, so it looks like the HOA is not in favor of this building?
They're not. They, at the And I don't know if the individuals that appeared for the March and the July planning board meetings speak for the entire association, but I can say that the concerns that they addressed, the lot is currently used as a green space for walking dogs, for residents of the condominium association. I can say it's private property that the landowner has the right to develop in some fashion or another. They addressed or broached concerns regarding safety if the units had children, because they are 3-bedroom. At the planning board meeting in July, I did remind them that units with 1, 2, 3, 4 bedrooms can all have children or no children. There's no requirement one way or another. I can't say that as a collective it is opposed by the condominium association, but I can say that at both planning board meetings there were individuals who reside at High Rocks, who live at High Rocks, who express concerns.
Would these 4 units be regular income units, or?
Yes.
So I'm sorry.
Mhm. Go ahead.
Are they rentals?
No, they would like to be
They'll be
sold.
sold, right?
Yes.
Okay, okay. And then I noticed on the stipulations, number 7, that the proposed development shall not receive any town trash hauling services, snow plowing, roadway maintenance, drainage, blah, blah, blah. So is that something that you've agreed to as well?
Certainly.
Okay.
Certainly.
No question.
I will say that as a final point that I didn't address in my initial remarks, you might recall this was previously approved back in, I believe, 2019 for I believe it was 14 affordable units. That plan obviously did not go forward. They're now seeking just 4 units. And I think the proposal as put forward, we've worked with the planning department to try to put forward a palatable proposal in that respect. It's been vetted by the planning department and the planning board, and really they've attached these conditions that they found necessary for the project to go forward.
This is provided by
Thank you.
any director?
There we are. Thank you.
See, typically, I'd have, this would be a no-brainer, but what concerns me is that all the residents that are gonna be mostly affected by this, seems like they're against it. Or the people that are gonna be the closest to it, like, and the way, that the problem is, the High Rocks is almost, practically, it's basically like it's in Blackstone. And it's kinda easy for us to say, on this side of the river, you let them put the 4 units there, what's the big deal? But there's people that this affects, you know, a lot of people live over there that are against this, so.
Yeah, I guess I agree with Councilor Bjorgard. What are you guys going to do to help improve the quality of life at these? I know most of their concerns also stem on lost quality of life in terms of that green space that you mentioned. They had concerns over the grading and other areas, you know, the actual size of the footprint. But what are you going to do to help, I guess, make up for those concerns of overdevelopment? You know, are you going to provide additional green space? Are you going to, you know, what are you going to do?
Well, I can say that one of the conditions that is attached is to retain a landscape architect, which is
Number 6.
number 6. So it's something to be addressed, obviously, prior to preliminary approval. I certainly understand the residents' desire to walk their dogs and to use that space, but at the end of the day, it's not property that is part of the High Rocks development. It's private property owned by a different property owner. And I say that, I don't mean to minimize the desire of those residents to use the space, but at the end of the day, it's a private property.
Right, but I think also some of the concerns, you know, unless I read the letter wrong from those residents, is there's also concerns of traffic, increased traffic. So is there anything you can speak to that, or what potential impact that has?
I'm very cautious in speaking to it because the law is clear. The law is clear in that we have the right to use it residentially now based on the new laws of March. But if the argument is that we should deny the zone change because of traffic, then under the current zoning of industrial, the uses that could be permitted there by right, and I don't know if that any of them would even be viable. I don't know. You'd have to be vetted through some kind of development plan review or land development review process. But if it was a matter of pursuing something that could be more impactful to the residents, I would think it would have to be an industrial use. Because if you look at your use schedule and the use that would be permitted on this lot, there's a litany of them, and my professional humble opinion, it would be far more impactful of an abutting residential use. And that's what the property is zoned in now, industrial.
And additionally, as I mentioned earlier, they did commission a traffic study that showed that there would be no adverse traffic. I understand that the residents have continually pointed to their belief that these 4 units would create a significant influx of traffic, but I don't
think 8 cars are really gonna make a big difference in everything, right?
Personally, I don't, but the data backs that up.
Right.
The data backs that up. The client has done what they have to try to vet this proposal. They've worked with the planning department, because that was certainly a concern that was addressed by raised by the planning department, not whether there would be an adverse effect of traffic, but what impact it would have on traffic. And we were able to say definitively it would not have an adverse effect because we have had that study completed.
I'm curious, Mr. Zelinski, you're familiar with the area and you've been around a while. What do you think of this?
Well, I think that it's been a while since I've looked at comprehensive plans and the certain elements and sections of it. But I would ask this question of Mr. Pimentel, is that your name, sir? Correct. In your understanding of the comprehensive plan, is there any mentioning about saving or encouraging manufacturing areas in the community?
There was a litany of information in the economic development and so forth, but it was ultimately the determination that both this property and the High Rocks property, obviously from the High Rocks property perspective, is because of the way it ultimately got developed, right? It was redeveloped in a mixed-use fashion, which is predominantly residential, and there's a good component of commercial use there too. But given the way that property has now transformed itself into a mixed-use residential commercial, and not necessarily what the intentions were previously for industrial, it was obvious to me that this adjacent small lot too then shouldn't be also utilized for industrial purposes. So it would be more supportive, given the transformation, that this whole area should be residential. And in fact, the current industrial designation classification of that property is an error. That property is supposed to have been rezoned to the same zoning classification. That's not what we're here for tonight. I'm here just as far as possible. That whole area, those 2 parcels, in your comprehensive plan, has finally been concluded should be residential.
Mr. Carullo, as being the planner, did you want to weigh in on this? I know you sent us a letter, but.
Well, I want to be careful because as the planner, I'm not here to advocate for or against the project. I'm here to just provide information.
Right.
So when the development came in, actually, I had looked at it. I looked at the comprehensive plan and the future land use map, as Mr. Pimentel mentioned. It's clearly designated for high-density residential use. And in dealing with High Rocks and the High Rocks project that's adjacent to it, I don't want to get into great detail, but there are a multitude of issues with that property in the development, in the approval of that property. And so when I looked at this property, I found in the planning files there was a previously approved project for 21 residential units, 100% low to moderate income on this property. And in talking to the applicants when they were coming back, they decided they wanted to come back for 4 residential units. So it had a previously approved project for 21 low to moderate income residential units on this lot. They're coming back to ask for 4 market rate units. The other thing, when we want to talk about traffic, the actual access to High Rocks, there's an easement on the High Rocks property that when it was developed, the developer built parking on the access easement. The actual access to the High Rocks property that High Rocks uses is on this lot. So this lot actually provides the access to get to High Rocks. That's improper, and it shouldn't be there, but it is. They're allowing it to continue. So when I looked at the development, I saw this as a trade-off. You know, do I like to see 4 units on 40,000 square feet? No. Does it comply with zoning? Practically does, but there was 21 units on it. It is zoned for high-density residential, and the access for the adjoining property is on this lot. So when someone shows up to object, say, I don't want that there, and say, well, you're actually using their property now to access your property. So there are many, many issues associated with this, and with regard to the development that came in, this development complies with the comprehensive plan, number one, and that's my first responsibility, complies with zoning, fills a need in the community, and it is being designed such that, if you look at the stipulations that we have there, that it can coexist peacefully with the adjoining property. One of the first things that I did request, and I always request when someone comes in for a zone change, was a traffic analysis. Because my concern was the neighbors are going to show up, if you're going to build something, and say, well, the traffic is the traffic and this is going to be more traffic. Well, when you're looking at, and as Mr. Pimentel said, when you're looking at the uses that could go on that property, as well as the uses that could be continue to be introduced into High Rocks, this is the lowest traffic generator that you could have on that property. So, and when they analyzed it, there was absolutely no effect on the traffic, none whatsoever. On the access road, the road going out into the adjoining community, and any of the roads adjacent to that. So, at the end of the day, the planning board issued a positive recommendation to the council and approved the master plan.
Thank you. Thank you. So I have one more question. Talking about this 21, yeah, the
21
units at low to moderate housing, is that the part that they were supposed to build in that High Rocks when they built it? That
No.
they was, is that a different thing?
I don't really want to get into all these are 2 separate properties. So High Rocks was approved as a project.
Okay.
And it was supposed to have, I forgot the amount of LMI, might have been 15% or something like that. What was the percent, Dave? 10% LMI. They didn't get the 10% LMI as part of the project for various reasons that happened long ago. The council, this council or the town council, approved an ordinance amendment to allow High Rocks to exist with the LMI that it had.
Okay.
So the 21 units of LMI, some of that was to be attributed to the main High Rocks development, and some of it wasn't.
Okay.
So, but at the end of the day, we had to have conversations with High Rocks, and again, these are 2, we need to be careful because they are 2 separate entities, although they're developed by the same individual, but they are absolutely separate entities, and High Rocks 1 has a homeowners association as well as it has a business association, and this is not related to that. But we did discuss High Rocks, potentially could be back in the future for conversion of more of that property to residential, and part of those discussions with the applicant was to make up for that LMI in any new residential that would be coming in on that property, because that's really where it should be attributed.
Okay, thank you. So these 4 residents would not be part of the HOA that exists now?
That's correct.
They would be their own if they decided?
Yes.
So would they be able to use any of the facilities or anything at the other building, or no, just totally separate?
Totally separate.
Okay.
In the same way that they're separate properties, the same way that the residents are on their own parcel, these 4 units are on entirely separate parcel.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone have any other questions before we open up to public hearing? No?
Public hearing?
Yeah.
Madam President, I make a motion to open the public hearing.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Biragad.
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton.
Yes.
Mrs. O'Hara. Mr. Ogier.
Yes.
Ms. Alves.
Yes. Anyone like to speak during this public hearing? Again, anyone like to speak on this? And one last time, anyone like to speak? Okay.
We're not voting on this tonight, right?
No.
So should we just, we usually extend the public hearing, should we continue
Yes,
it?
because this is first reading.
Okay.
In case something comes up, but maybe you should, for the record, you might want to introduce or accept the letter from Michael DeBrois on behalf of the High Rocks Condominium Association, and the letter from Roger Cummings, property manager of the High Rocks Condominium Association. And I believe, are they the ones who submitted the map? And this is what I had in my packet.
Yeah.
I think you should introduce that as an exhibit to the public hearing.
Okay.
And I would also just ask Mr. Renahan to specify in more detail the extent of density increase, the extent of the less than, you know, the really, because you're asking for the zone change and the council to approve this relief. You're not asking to go back to the zoning board, are you?
That's correct.
You want a condition of the zone change to include this relief?
That's correct.
Could you specify that?
Certainly.
And maybe you could do it orally tonight and submit it in writing before the next meeting. Maybe Mark has it already, but I just don't have.
Previously here in June, I was under the impression the first reading was at that date in June.
If it was, that's not the way the clerk has it reported.
Can you guys put your mics on?
Can you put your mics on, please?
I was not at that meeting, but I was told by the clerk that this was postponed due to an attorney wasn't unavailable or.
Yeah, this is our first time hearing this.
Okay.
Mhm.
Sure, I can certainly
Did
go.
somebody from your office come on your behalf?
No, I was here. We continued it to go back before the planning board.
Okay,
So,
well then
Understood.
this counts for first reading.
Understood. So, the residential urban district minimum for lot frontage is 200 feet. The property has 50 feet fronting on Butler Street, so it would require a 150-foot special exception. The residential urban district minimum for lot width is 200 feet. The property has 50 feet of lot width, again, would require a 150-foot special exception. The bedroom density, and I know Mr. Pimentel included this in his report, is 6,000 feet, which would, with 4,000 feet for each additional bedroom. The number of corresponding permissible bedrooms is 9.5, which would require a minor special recognition for that last 2.5 bedrooms.
But is that based upon square footage or based upon bedrooms?
Based upon square footage.
So what is that relief in square footage terms? You needed X amount, and what do you have?
We have 40,000 and we require 56,000.
So you're looking for
Thank you, Mr.
an
Planner.
exception of 15,000 square feet.
16,000.
16,000 square feet.
16,000 square feet.
And the driveway?
In the, I don't know, in the minimum driveway width, I apologize, I don't know if I. Don't think I have the, with Mr. Planner, I'm not sure if you find it as well. Minimum
The
driveway width.
I would just suggest that you have in writing, in a very short form, the specific items as described that you want the council to vote on, yea or nay. Does that make sense?
Certainly.
The zone change from industrial, I'm sorry, M to RU, and then these specific items.
These four
So that
items.
if they grant it, you have the relief that you're granted. If they don't, they don't, but at least if you do, you know what it is said.
Understood.
Sorry for the interruption.
No, thank you.
And then based upon that, Madam President, if the planner doesn't have that information, you can submit that. And then unless there's something else, the developer, I would ask that the matter, public hearing be continued, that the public hearing be continued to a date certain at Mr. Renahan's request, because we've got to keep it on notice, and not your request, with your agreement, so we get a date that you know you can be here, and that the, be scheduled for second reading. Because you can't act on first reading.
Right. Okay, so, we want to do that now?
You have it?
The driveway width requirement is 24 feet, proposed is 22, it would be a 2-foot deviation.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
So is there a date certain that you know that you could attend for a second reading?
Make myself available whenever is the next available hearing date.
Madam Clerk?
September 3rd, next meeting?
Is that one already filling up?
No. Nope.
Okay. September 3rd?
September 3rd. Mr. Pimentel, are you available September 3rd? I know that.
It's a Tuesday. Day after a
Yeah,
holiday.
normally we have.
I wouldn't think so. September 3rd is, that's
That's good.
agreeable for us. Thank
Let us know if
you.
there's a problem, but we'll.
That's fine.
okay.
Thank
Okay,
you.
so we'll make a motion to continue this to September 3rd?
Yep, so I'll make a motion to continue the public hearing in this matter to a date certain of September 3rd,
Second,
for second reading.
second?
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I also just want the record to reflect that we, as another, appendix, for the major land development project and rezone application with special exceptions, was submitted by Pimentel Consulting, for the record.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Biragad.
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton.
Yes.
Mrs. O'Hara. Mr. Ogier.
Yes.
Ms. Alves.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
September 3rd. Discussion by council vote or other action on request to abandon a portion of Brighton Street, Assessors Plot 4, lots 289 and 290. Applicant Vincent,
Mazzarella.
Mezzalella. Yes, perfect, thank you. Okay. This will be the first reading, and also we'll have a public hearing after this.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen of the council. I appeared before you 2 months ago relative to my request for these partial street abandonment. Have, what street is that? That's Brighton Street. I asked if there were any particular questions surrounding that matter. There didn't seem to be any from the council. It's pretty straightforward. We own both sides of the street. It's currently unimproved now. We've had some discussions with the town planner about this matter. As I said, the last time I appeared here, I didn't want to speak for the planner, but I do believe he was supportive of what we were proposing, and I would request your favorable consideration of this matter.
Madam President, may I ask a question? So I just want to ask a couple questions. So I know you said you own both sides of it. If you do get approval of the application, what's your intent on it? Just housing? You're not looking to ever expand a roadway onto that paper street?
No, if the property were abandoned, we already have a plan to construct a residence on the abutting lot. we would like to go before the Town Planning Committee to do an administrative subdivision to make it more consistent with frontages that are more consistent with the town. Make it just more consistent.
And because this is, so just to be clear, you're not looking to ever put a roadway between Mendon Road and Woonsocket, correct?
A roadway, where please?
You can't ever put a road here, right?
We would, no, we would not.
Just housing?
Not intend to put a road, no.
Okay, and Woonsocket, nobody on Woonsocket ever needed to be notified, or were they ever notified?
Yes, I do believe everyone that was in the butter has been notified.
Okay, thank you.
And are these all single families or are they multiple or?
This would be a single-family residence.
Anyone have any other questions? Okay, anyone like to make a motion to open the public hearing?
Make a motion to open the public hearing?
Do we have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second, any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Biragad.
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton.
Yes.
Mrs. O'Hara. Mr. Ogier.
Yes.
Ms. Alves.
Yes. Anyone like to speak on this matter? Okay, you can go up and state your name, please.
My name is Richard Capistrand. My wife and I are here tonight to voice our, well, we object to you turning the street into Mr. Massalella's lot. I own the land behind that. If this is condemned, I have no access to my lot, which is 3/4 of an acre behind it on the Woonsocket side. There's another entrance to this property, but I've been in touch over the years with the city of Woonsocket. It'd be financially impossible for us to put in a street according to the specs that Woonsocket wanted. They want curbings, they want sidewalks, they want drainage. I believe that's Welcome Street. Is it Welcome, Sharon? Mr. Messalella owns the adjoining lot that abuts mine on the other side. It'd be quite a burden for us if we ever wanted to develop our property there, so I just wanted to go on the record, say to kind of object to that taking place. Sorry, I'm not a great speaker here, but, you know,
No, this is your homestead and property is invested in, I imagine, for many years.
I've had it along, I've had this land since the 70s.
Because on Elizabeth Avenue, we had land going back to the early 1900s, actually, and it was later sold. I would like to see it, if it is going to be a financial burden, and I don't know how the others feel. I think that, and there's no way of accessing any other way, right, as far as getting to that lot.
Nothing they could afford to do. Apparently, on this other street, there is a house in the back. It's been here forever, since I own the land.
Yeah.
It's always been a dirt road.
Yeah.
And that property's in Woonsocket.
Yeah.
So I don't know who owns the property, but it's been there for forever. I just have no way of, my concern was that the shortest route, if I was gonna develop this land, would be to come in through Brighton Street.
Well, I can, knowing the area
Yeah.
somewhat, but I don't know if any of the people on the council are familiar. But if we can postpone a definite on this, I would go to view your lot,
Okay,
okay?
I appreciate that.
And bring someone who's a builder that could, you know, help me along a little to, I may have a vision, it may be possible, but I don't want to take anything away from you, sir.
Appreciate it. That's all I have.
Thank you.
So are you saying that your property is on this side of the lot? Like over? Yeah, I know, I'm just looking at this one here though.
Can I approach it?
So is he over here?
That's what I was trying to say. I couldn't tell.
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask the question again. No, I know the street.
Where is it, John?
John, what side is it?
This must be an old, this must be old because he's saying he's.
Oh, yeah, that'll be on.
Oh, okay.
Oh, there's a map.
So. This is property in question.
Oh, yeah, that's what we have.
That's right here.
Okay, that's what I'm talking.
This is us.
This is yours, so,
This is us, and this is what you also abandoned, and then this is what
so if you wanted to develop any of your lot, now you can't get to it.
Madam President, I just want you to know the board is not getting any of this talk.
Okay, we're just trying to see where the property is.
Yeah.
I know where the
Okay.
property is,
Thank you.
I know where the house was built.
Trying to get our bearings. Trying to get our bearings, David.
I could be here.
All right, yeah.
I wish we had that.
Yeah, I'm gonna ask the question again.
So Joanne, do you want to specify their lot is AP1 lot 82? That's the lot that they're referring to. AP1 lot 82. In Woonsocket.
So I think.
So this way.
I'm just following along. So you're referring, Madam
Can you
President, for the record, you're referring to a diagram that is in everyone's package?
Correct.
And was part of the package that the public could see?
Correct.
And it's the administrative subdivision for Liz Development,
Right.
Yes.
so that's what you're
Yeah,
referring to?
it'd be helpful if we could see it, but obviously we can't see it
Yeah.
up on the, okay. Got it.
What's that?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much
Thank you.
for coming.
Anyone else like to speak on this?
Can I ask a question?
You can get up and speak.
I didn't know if I could ask a question.
Public hearing, yep.
Thank you. Rebecca Christopher, 1931 Pound Hill Road. I'm sorry, I didn't catch your last name, sir.
My last name is
Yes.
Capistran.
Capistran. Mr. Capistran, I was looking at some plat maps earlier, and it looks like the majority of the land that actually abuts the abandoned plot that he's, essentially looking for approval abuts wetlands. Is that correct?
I just learned something in the back portion would be.
Okay. So theoretically, if you were to develop and use that land to access your land, it would essentially go through wetlands, so there might be some restrictions there anyway. So you may not necessarily be able to use that access road to get to your land, is that correct?
I'm not really familiar with the land.
Okay. Okay.
We did not.
Okay, we can't have
no.
conversation.
Oh, no, sorry, I was just asking. So essentially, if we're considering inhibiting a landowner from looking into pursuing other land so he can build residential homes, single-family residential homes, and enhance our community, we should better understand, theoretically you're saying that you'd like to develop your land in the future, but I mean, that's a long-term, potentially, it may not come to fruition. So in the short term, as we look to enhance our communities and bring more families to town, really build that community, then I think that we should, we should just be more comprehensive in our decisions here. So that was my only question and then follow-up.
Thank you.
So, am I able to speak at this point regarding this matter?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So first of all, I just want to clarify that Mr. Capistran would have access to his property if this property were abandoned. If this street, the portion of Brighton Street that I'm asking to abandon, were abandoned, he would still have access to his property because his property is fronted on 2 streets in Woonsocket, on McMullen Drive and on Brighton Street. That's number one. Number two, I own the property directly across the street from Mr. Capistrand, which is located in Woonsocket. And if that property were developable, my access would be through McMullen or through Scotia Street. I would have to pay for all the improvements to which he is referring that the city of Woonsocket would require. So I would be incentivized to look at the development of that street if we ever decided we wanted to develop that property that's located in Woonsocket. So the fact that he's suggesting that an abandonment of a short portion of Brighton makes his lot undevelopable or landlocked is absolutely incorrect.
So just in follow-up to the question I had earlier, now that I am looking at the map again. So you're talking about building single-family homes, right, or residential homes, let's just call it that.
Yes.
So what happens if you get access to the road, we abandon it, and you don't build? You don't have any intention to connect Mendon Road to Brighton Street and create a connect through to Woonsocket from North Smithfield?
Well, first of all, I'd like to make clear that this is a legal non-conforming lot. This lot that we're talking about, this small lot, is a legal non-conforming lot. We actually have a design to build of a single-family home that can be built on that property, which I'm happy to share with the council. So if you decide that this council in its infinite wisdom decides not to abandon the street, I'm still gonna build a house there. And I'm happy to show you the plan. So the idea was to make this property, this house, and this lot, once we go back to the planning board, to make it more consistent with what already exists on Mendon Road. That's the purpose of this abandonment. Not just, I don't need the land to build a single-family home on this property.
Thank you. Regarding wetlands, that came up. Do you anticipate any DEM issues or approval?
I already have an approval.
Okay, so all your permitting and stuff.
If you'd like to see it, I have it with me.
I believe you. I know you have to show it at planning, so.
You've done a lot of development up in that area, haven't you, over the last 20 years?
We've done some, yes. As a matter of fact, I'm glad you brought that up, because when we talk about the expense of developing roads, at my expense, over $1 million, I had to develop 2 roads in North Smithfield in order to do development in North Smithfield.
Well, obviously, you wouldn't have done it if there wasn't some kind of financial benefit. You didn't do it on it.
But of course,
Right.
I'm not a nonprofit,
Exactly.
although that's not true either. I'm in business, but it's been nonprofit for the last couple of years. So what I would tell you is, yes, of course, we're all financially incentivized. If we were not, I wouldn't be here. But the simple fact remains that this is legal non-conforming. I just want to make it a little more consistent with what exists in the town now.
Well, I'll be very straightforward. I'd like to go up and see the land and see where they live now. Just,
Well, wear your galoshes.
oh, darling, I've stepped in more, a lot of stuff with galoshes in my lifetime, so.
May I ask the
Yeah,
planner
good
to
books.
come up?
Yes, go ahead.
May I ask the planner, I know you're here for other things, but boy, we're really taking
See what happens
advantage
when you
of
come to meetings?
having you here.
You thought sitting in the back would do it.
So, would you be able to please come to the podium? Just want to ask, the decision of the planning board when the vote was taken on July 11th, for the abandonment of that portion and what, what the final result was. I know you provided us a memorandum in our packet.
Yeah, the planning board voted unanimously to approve the abandonment with the stipulation to be the town retain a 20-foot utility easement in case water or something needs to be brought onto the property or onto the adjacent property in Woonsocket.
And were any of the issues of accessing for abutters and things of this nature that we discussed this evening?
That was,
they brought
so
up?
that was not discussed at the planning board. I think everyone has the same maps.
Right.
And it does show paper streets, as I'll refer to them, as is Bryden Street in Woonsocket. It shows a McMullen Avenue wrapping around into Bryden Street. And there's something called Welcome Street, which is also an undeveloped street. The most direct route to Mr. Capistrand's property is along this Bryden Street section, but there are other points of access to that property. I mean, on this plan, you can see that there is a flagged edge of a wetland, and there are perimeter wetlands there, which is
So now this proposed dwelling, is that the property that's gonna be built
so,
with this?
not to explain Mr. Manzalella's project for Mr. Manzalella, but in my conversations with him over the past couple of years, I think, was he owned several pre-existing non-conforming properties abutting Mendon Road. And he's got a DEM wetlands approval. If we're looking at the same plan, which says administrative subdivision, Liz Development, Corp assesses Plat 3, lots 289, 290, is that the plan that you have?
Yes.
So that proposed dwelling, it says 20 by 40, is the proposed dwelling. And what Mr. Manzalella explained to me is he also owns that triangular lot to the right, just on the other side of Bryden, and his intent is to abandon Bryden, merge all of those into one lot, and just build that house there. And the purpose would be to use that excess area, that triangular lot that he owns, as well as the abandoned portion of the street, as yard area to make the property more usable for whoever would be buying it, moving in. That was the discussion that we had.
Okay.
May I ask a question? So, sir, I'm sorry, what's your last name again? Okay, so I'm unclear how this creates a hardship or a burden for you if we do that. Can you explain that again? Yeah, if you could just come up here.
Yeah, it's right. Yeah, we have it. Do you have it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I approached the city many years ago to purchase the land on the side of my lot. It's along Welcome Street.
Over here?
At the time, I was told, many administrations ago, that, well, you can't build on this lot. It's tax lien property. I was going to buy the property. I said, well, we can't allow, because we won't allow you to build on that land, because we can't have a rescue coming up Rhodes Avenue in Woonsocket and turning into North Smithfield on Mendon Road and crossing over the North Smithfield piece to get to my house that might be on that lot in the back. I saw the writing on the wall, it's just, they were just trying to fluff me off, and now they said if we did allow you, you'd have to create a street according to our specs in the city of Woonsocket, which meant putting in curbing, sidewalks, drainage. I get it. I mean, water's got to go somewhere. There's no way I could have afforded that. We were talking maybe $50,000 to $75,000 at that time, and I know it's a lot more today if it took place. So we abandoned all this. I'm a retired policeman from Woonsocket. I served from 1971 to 1991. And a bunch of us policemen bought up all this tax lien land back in the day, hoping to build houses. We had to live in the city. We'd be away from the action, more or less, you know, which we dealt with, working night shifts. So most of those guys have passed on, and they sold it. They sold the land over the years. So if I was going to do something, as far as this water survey, I wasn't aware of that. You know, whether it's wetlands or not, I never realized it was. Back in the day, it passed a perk test, and you know, this was the easiest way to enter my property line versus going all the way around to the back and coming in the back end of the lot. Those were my intentions back in the day. So that's, I don't know if I answered your question there, Mr. Beauregard. It was a money issue, you know. I've been approached by many people to buy the land, including Mr. Messalella. He wanted to buy it. You know, we met several years ago, and he didn't like my numbers, and I didn't like his numbers.
That's the way it goes.
That's the way it goes. So we'll see. Well, he wants to build his house on his property. I get it. It's going to be very close to the Woonsocket line. I would think whoever ends up buying that house would probably want that land behind me, behind him. And that would be my lot. So we'll see. I'm in my 70s now. I live in Uxbridge, Mass, and you know, I've got a pretty good life. But I was hoping I'd get rid of this land at some point, but not for what I was offered for it. That's about all.
So does this decrease the value of your property?
Does it decrease it? It's just, no, it's just gonna be a.
No, but if this is approved, and he does what he wants to do over there, does that affect the value of your property?
I don't think he can answer that.
Probably
Yeah,
would.
he doesn't know.
I don't think he would know that, right? Because if you, that's, he could say the argument that they might homes, it increases his property.
He's inferring that.
But
I
there's no
mean,
fact
there's no
behind
fact
it.
to it, though. I mean, they built 3 homes that are $1 million each, his property's gonna soar. His asking price just went up.
Yeah.
He builds homes and they all tank, his property goes down, so
Yeah.
don't wanna put him on the spot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Say anything else?
Anyone else like to get up and speak during the public meeting? Anyone else? Anyone want to get up? Okay, does the council have any other questions?
No, so this is our first reading.
So we'll continue
and
this.
Continue the public hearing to the, you want to do the
Just need a
third?
date certain.
Very open right now.
All right, so.
Yeah, we say that, but can we not have multiple public hearings
It's
on a
crazy,
night?
I
This is
know.
3 public hearings tonight, and we tend to do this, and then we're making decisions on.
So we'll
But
have.
that's all we have is.
Yeah, I'm
is
fine
right
with,
now
I'm
two,
fine with that. I'm
if
just
we had
saying,
two.
if we get one more public hearing
Yeah,
request, can we
should,
not?
yeah, right, yeah. Solicitor? Yes, sir?
Just for clarity, Madam President, if you're continuing the public hearing and the matter to another date because you want to garner more information, that's fine. I know it's listed as a first reading. This is not an ordinance, this is a petition, so there is not first and second reading.
Oh, okay.
Mr. Mansalella filed this petition, which is his right. This wasn't an ordinance provided by the council. He filed a petition. He was required to pay for the advertising and the notice to the abutters. That's been done by the clerk. The public hearing, when it's complete, when you're satisfied. So don't close the public hearing till you're satisfied it's complete. But if you are, then the next thing is to either continue the matter for a vote or a vote tonight. But if you're not there and you think you might get more information, I would continue both. The petition and the public hearing. I know it says first reading.
I would
but
think in good faith, we should continue
I
just
agree.
for transparency purposes. Somebody saw this and thought they could come speak at another day, then.
That's fine.
I mean,
Yeah.
because of the way it was posted, yeah, I agree with that, yeah, that could get us into, but,
So
Well-
with September 3rd, if we were to continue this to September 3rd, does that date work for you, or do you need to go?
Second meeting in September.
I just had one further
Don't say
question.
that.
Mr. Mansell, I'm not going to ask you to incur any more costs, but you raised the issue of the flagged wetlands on that lot, and I see it's on the administrative subdivision that you provided by your engineer. How did the land get flagged on Mr. Capistrand's property? No, I just was wondering.
If it is, I wasn't aware.
No, did you have I guess I'm not asking the right question. Did you have the flagging done on this, or was the flagging just reported by your engineer?
I had the engineer's flag it. I didn't know that they were on Mr. Capistrand's land, to tell the truth. I don't know where that data came from.
Well, I just think it might be interesting for the council to know, because the flagging does have, I'm not an engineer, and I'm not gonna tell you what DM will do, but if that flagging is accurate,
yeah.
the development of the lot in the back of this lot, or access to it from
Right.
Bryden Street is gonna be
impacted.
very, very difficult to achieve. I'm not saying it's impossible, I'm just saying it's an issue the council needs to address.
May I?
Yeah,
One
we're
more
still-
comment. All due respect to Mr. Capistrand, and I heard his comments about the expense associated with making the improvements for the city of Woonsocket that would be basically unaffordable, as he suggested. I mean, he could have came to North Smithfield himself and asked to improve that street to get access to his property if he wanted to. So that argument that he's making about being unaffordable, which of course is irrelevant, I've always been told for all the times I've been before planning boards and city councils, he could have came and made the same petition to this council to improve that road to access his property. I'm going to pick up that expense.
Can I just follow up on that? Mr. Mansell, I'm sorry to ask this question, but it says on your plan that Bryden Street in Woonsocket is undeveloped.
The entire street is undeveloped, from Mendon all the way through.
So Mr. Capistrand would not have access from this portion of Bryden Street without improving all of Bryden Street in Woonsocket.
Well, that's...
Is that right?
Well, I'm sure you have to improve Bryden Street.
Okay, all right.
To get access to his property.
In Woonsocket.
In Woonsocket.
Oh, no.
Are we still in public?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
both.
I have a question. Mr. Manzanello, maybe it's if I have a highlighted copy, and it shows Bryden Street with frontage of 40 feet, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. You also own a property which is, and you have to forgive my eyesight, it's very small. You own a property that looks triangular in nature, comes out of Woonsocket in a triangular fashion. It's AP in Woonsocket, it's AP 1 lot 80, I can't see it, 88, 89?
Yep.
It comes in at a triangle with no frontage on a town road, Mendon Road. There's no frontage.
It might be a foot.
A foot, 5 feet, okay? So 40 feet. Now, you also own the abutting property to the left of that, which has 80 feet, is that what I read? I need new glasses. I believe 80 foot of frontage, is that correct roughly?
No, I think it's 200 feet.
So now we're in North Smithfield with AP Lot 3, 260, yeah? Is that it?
If I can be clear as to my intent.
Can you
just go to the
speak
mic so
at the
everyone...
mic?
Can you just go to the mic so everybody can hear?
Yeah, so if I can be clear with my intentions, As I suggested, the triangular piece, which is about 2,900 square feet, is a legal non-conforming lot. The lot on the other side of Brighton Street has about a 200-foot frontage. The idea that I'm contemplating is to have Brighton, that portion of Brighton Street abandoned, then go to the planning board and ask them to do an administrative subdivision so that those two houses will be more consistent with what is now currently, in terms of frontage, which is now currently seen on Mendon Road and other parts of North Smithfield.
Okay, with my challenged eyesight, if I look to the left of this, we have frontage on,
I'm sorry, Mr. Willis, could you talk? Like, I can't hear you.
I'll approach. I'll
Okay.
show you. Hopefully you can help me understand this.
I'm sorry?
Hopefully you can help me understand this.
Okay.
You want to get close? Come on in close. So here's the, oh, thank you, Mark. Whoa, I can see again. Okay, so here is the lot that we discussed, the triangular piece, correct?
Mm-hmm.
You say there might be a foot of frontage.
Maybe.
This shows 40 feet of frontage,
Correct.
correct? Now, the lot abutting it, which I believe you also own, right? Is this part of, Liz Development?
Yes.
That has 89 feet of frontage. The one to the left of that has 104. So roughly, we know that these were pre-existing to the 1972 zoning change.
Right.
So all these lots, you can build houses on.
Yes.
Not a problem. This one at 89, you can build a house on.
Yes.
Okay. This one now, that abuts this triangle, has 40 feet.
I'm
Where
sorry.
are you proposing to put a house?
I don't think that this is representative. At one point, we were going to try to divide, this is 200 feet. This is really one lot. They show two houses here. Let me see what I'm.
Well, it's actually showing two lots proposed, one
David-
with 104
David.
and
Right.
89.
Right, because at one point, we
So
were
we
going to
have
ask
no
to
idea
subdivide
what's-
these lots and get two houses, 100-foot of frontage each.
Excuse
So
me,
now this is
gentlemen.
one lot with 200 feet.
Gentlemen, the council and I don't think the clerk are getting what you're talking about.
They can't see it because I don't know how big their copy is either.
But we don't, yeah, but we don't know.
So in essence, we should really continue this until we get a straighter answer.
Well, ideally, we should have the,
And then, can we also
that
just,
thing fixed so we can project it on the,
well, if the projector can't be fixed, I think a larger map would be helpful, but to the solicitor's point, well, there's all this side chatter going
Please,
on.
hold on a minute, gentlemen. Yes, Mr. VP.
So you brought up a point,
There's so many conversations
Excuse me.
going
all right,
on.
point of order real quick.
I got the answer. Here you go. I got the answer.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask my question now. Excuse me, excuse me, excuse me, excuse me.
We can't hear them.
Oh, okay. So anyways, to the point that you brought up, David, you questioned the wetland delineation in here. I want to know the accuracy of this map that we're looking at. I want to speak to its authenticity of it, because if there's any doubt in this map, I have a hard time. Not saying that there's anything wrong with it, but until we know 100% that it's accurate and verified, and it probably is, I don't know if I see a stamp, but I just want to make sure.
Get a full-size stamp copy.
That's all. That's all I want to
Not
say.
just you got the full-size stamp copy, Mr. Manzalella, from your engineer that stamped this. We're looking at a photocopy, but you have a full-size stamped engineered copy.
Yeah, I like, big one on this.
Right, as long as it's got an original engineer stamp on it. I think that's what the councilman would like to see.
put your thing in.
I'm not on?
I think you are.
You are.
I thought I was on, I'm sorry.
Yeah, you are.
I think that's the starting point for this discussion, everybody should be looking at the same map.
Right. We're all looking at different things, and it's a little confusing.
And I think, so that everybody gets a clear understanding.
All right, so can we make a motion to continue this?
Just bang it out.
Let's get a new date.
Can we make a motion to extend this to September 3rd so we can get a better view of it?
Yes.
Council President, I think what you're looking for, this site was flagged by an engineer, it was reviewed by DEM, Department of Environmental Management.
All right.
They've approved the wetland edge verification, they verified it. You're looking for Mr. Mansalilla, the DEM approved stamped plan. That's what you want, because with that, you'll see that that is the actual wetlands edge. DEM verified it, they approved it, and they stamped the plan. He should have that plan. He informed us that he has a wetlands approval. That would be the basis of that approval, would be that plan. I think that's what you're looking for to provide for you at the next meeting.
Okay.
Okay.
One other final point, Mr. Mansalilla is saying, that would be one clarification. The other point is, he's saying the two proposed houses. Mr. Mansalilla.
Should mention the lot.
Mr. Mansalilla. The council was looking for that, but also you're saying those two proposed houses are inaccurate. You said that's not what you're proposing.
Well, no, that's not what I'm.
That's what I'm saying, so, not tonight, but the council.
It shows two houses with 200-foot frontage. We never asked for that administrative subdivision. We never asked for that subdivision. We said, okay, leave the 200 feet, we'll keep one single house, abandon the street, because we have a legal non-conforming, the little triangle. We will now, at some point, split that, so you'll have 100.
How many houses?
Okay, just, I think there's, all right. Just 1 second. I think there's two conversations happening. That's a future plan that has no direct, has a relation, but not the immediate issue at hand here. So what he does with that little triangle on the foot of land and to the right is a separate thing. And I think it's time to muddy the conversation here. All we're talking about is, do we abandon this? Take out the other two housing right now.
Understanding that that little triangular piece is a legal non-conforming lot. And I have a plan for that lot. believe it or
Okay.
not. It's a beautiful house.
Okay.
Okay.
I can show it to you.
September
So
3rd.
rather than do that, we can make it much more consistent, which is what's available on Mendon Road.
Okay, so September 3rd, we'll continue this too.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Madam President?
Yes.
Just a point of
Extend.
order. I'm going to extend the meeting by 1 hour.
Thank you.
It's good.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Is
it.
that a second?
Second.
Claire seconded.
All right, roll call, please.
Mr. Biragad.
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton.
Yes.
Mrs. O'Hara.
Yeah.
Mr. Ogier.
Yes.
Ms. Alves.
Yes. Discussion by council vote or other action on amendment to the zoning ordinance, section 340, district use regulations table. Mr. Carullo. First reading.
Oh, my. Oh, my.
Should have stayed up there.
So did you extend the meeting an hour so that I can speak for an hour?
We gave you a full
No.
hour.
We know you
Keep
can
it
do
short.
So we're here for a zoning amendment to the Town of North Smithfield use regulation table. And I think I provided to the council a memorandum from the planning board issuing a positive recommendation with regard to the changes. And I also provided, I believe if you received it, the new section of the Rhode Island General Law, which addresses special use permit criteria. As you're aware, last year the General Assembly passed several pieces of legislation related to land use, zoning, and planning. And one of those pieces of legislation had to do with now requiring local communities to establish specific and objective criteria when authorizing uses via a special use permit. And one of the other things that they actually removed from the criteria was the consistency with the comprehensive plan. The second half of the statute says If a local community does not have specific objective criteria addressing each of the special use permits as they are designated in your comprehensive plan, they become a use by right, which means in this use table that I've provided to you, any of those uses that have an S with a line through it, none of them currently in our zoning code has specific objective criteria addressing those uses. So all of those S's, as they're stricken in yellow, are allowed today as we speak by right. In going through the zoning update, in conferring with the town solicitor, it was a recommendation of the solicitor, and I agree, the planning board agreed, and the review committee agreed, that as an interim stopgap measure, we should go through, examine those uses, and for the majority of them, for the time being, change them to no. Because what we don't want to happen is to have a use come in that we would have expect to go through a zoning approval process before the zoning board, be allowed by right, so that we inadvertently allow undesirable uses on properties in the town of North Smithfield. That's the purpose of this. So we've gone through the use table. In each and every one that's highlighted in yellow, you'll see the recommendation for the majority of them is to change it to no. Some of them, very few of them, have Ys for yes. And when you look at that, you'll see, like, for example, crops and trees, commercial raising. In the REA and the RA, it was a yes and a yes. In the RS and the RU, it has an S. And why it has an S, I don't know, because those are all residential zones. And then further on, it's a yes. So we just changed those. It seems reasonable that that would be a yes. So when you see the yeses, you'll see, because the other use categories allow them by right, so we thought that it would be reasonable to allow those by right. The remainder of them have been changed primarily to no's. Again, this is a stopgap measure. It's the first step in our process. And as we advance through the zoning process, the last thing we're actually going to do is go through, revisit the use table, and look at all of the uses in the use table, including the special use permits, revise and update the use table to meet current standards. And for those uses that we believe require special use permits, we will be creating objective criteria related to those that will be reviewed by either the planning or the zoning board at the time that the application comes in. So I just want to reiterate, this is a stopgap measure to prevent those uses that do not have criteria from coming into the community and someone insisting that they are allowed by right, because that's what the statute says, and having someone establish a use that we may not want to be established without some sort of special review criteria.
May I ask the planner? So Mark, I know sitting on the committee, it's been extremely helpful. I know the consultant group is doing a great job, but how long is the overall process? Because I know you're saying it's a stopgap. So I know just going through when we proposed changes to the 619,
yeah,
there was concern over the timeline and the process, and this isn't a long-term stopgap. This is a relatively short-term stopgap.
So our expectation and basically our calendar is to have all the zoning ordinance update before this town council, well, before the town council, before the end of the year. So we're looking at December, November or December.
Thank you.
Yeah. And this only impacts those from this day forward.
Well, from the 20 days, so this is going to take two passages, right? So yes, it does this day forward, but so we're clear. You need two passages, and then there's a 20-day appeal period. So it'll be 20 days after the passage of this, if the council decides to pass it, of this recommended zone change.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions from the council?
No.
Anyone like to make a motion to open the public reading?
Make a motion to open the public hearing.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Joe, you got anything to say?
Well, we gotta do a roll call. Can we do a roll call, please?
Mr. Biragad?
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton?
Yes.
Mrs. O'Hara?
Yes.
Mr. Ogier?
Yes.
Ms. Howe?
Yes. Anyone like to speak? Just to make, on the record, there's only one person in the audience, and they has expressed no to speak.
And so we're clear that this was advertised in the paper once a week, the last 3 successive weeks. It was posted on the website, so we've met all of the criteria for advertising for a zoning amendment.
Thanks, Mark.
Okay.
Madam President, pending no other people wanting to speak, I'll make a motion to continue the public hearing and this matter until a date certain of, what do you want to do?
Yeah, see, then we don't want the third,
The
right?
3rd?
Then you're gonna have your 3 public hearings, though. After the second,
After the 2nd,
right?
20 days.
The 20
Yeah.
days
After
begins.
Well, the 20 days is after
For
the,
appeal.
After the
you vote to approve it, then there's a 20-day appeal period, yeah.
So do you wanna
So, I
have,
mean, why don't we just do this on the 3rd? It's not gonna
Yeah, it's
be
fine. It shouldn't take long.
a long item. So let's do it on the 3rd, and then we
As
just
long as it goes quick.
not put too much more on that agenda. Okay. Does September 3rd work?
I will be here September 3rd regardless.
That's good, because we needed you tonight, see?
So then date certain of
Boy,
September
is
3rd.
it's nice to have you here.
I'd like to say,
I have to
I
say.
prefer not to be needed.
All right,
All right,
so
thank you.
we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to have the second reading on September 3rd. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Biragad.
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton.
Yes.
Mrs. O'Hara. Mr. Ogier.
Yes.
Ms. Alves.
Yes.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you very much.
We owe you.
Discussion by council. Discussion by council vote or other action on resolution to create a charter review commission. Mr. Ogier.
Yeah, so I'm going to ask that this be put on the September 3rd agenda, only because in conversations with the solicitor, there's just a few more pieces of the language in the resolution that we want to finalize. And so some of the questions I wanted to ask the council is does the council care how many people are a part of the committee? I was thinking 5. Try to keep it from being too large, because sometimes the larger committee doesn't always work. And then what does the council feel like in terms of membership? Do they want a council liaison? Do they want other members from other boards? We've done it like 20 different ways. So is there any other input that the council would want? Pending no other, and the only other piece then would be is how long would you want this committee to deliberate on these like charter proposals? Like, would you want a report back in like 6 months? Is there a timeline on it? Is there not? You know, I think it has to be somewhat time defined. So those are some of the things that instead of proposing the resolution tonight and then having all those discussions, having them now, finalizing, and then passing a clean resolution. And then I would also ask that, you know, that keeping the conversation moving, that Joanne could advertise. I know I've had a few people already reach out asking or expressing interest in serving on it, that we would then, as we've done in the past, we would ratify that and we could fill the board that evening as well, or on the 16th, depending on how many people. So those are just some of the questions I have. If there's no input, then I'll just keep working with David and.
No, sir,
bring it to
I
the
think
council.
5.
Comment, VP, if I may ask.
Yeah, sure.
I think we discussed not necessarily advertising to fill the positions before it's passed, in case it didn't pass.
Okay, that's fair enough.
I think that was the only thing we discussed.
Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
good.
hopefully it will, but if it doesn't, you don't want to be soliciting people to apply to a committee that doesn't.
I agree.
So do you want us to discuss anything about like how many members and things? I think we can, no?
Just any other input, if there was any recommendations or anything else, you know, then talk to the solicitor. Some charter review committees, they say you can only focus on these 3 or 4 things.
Yeah.
I wouldn't think that would be probably wise. I think if we're gonna do it, we should look at the whole thing. But that's just, I just wanted any other input, that's all. If there was any concerns or any other points of things we should have it
So
look
you
at,
want
or
us
if it
to
just should be pretty generic.
Tell you.
I think we're trying to and I'll interject because I think I'm trying to get guidance
Right,
from the
that's what I
council
mean.
on how to draft the final
Yeah.
draft of this resolution. So a couple of things. When you establish a charter review committee or commission, as this case may be, it's usually a task. You say, we want you to do this and give us a final report by X date. You don't it's not like you don't create a committee and say, give us a monthly update and we'll see you whenever. That's not what you do. You establish a charter review committee and you say, we expect your report in 3 months, 6 months, pick a time period. And that charter review committee task will continue to run, in this case, and until the task is complete and then dissolved, or the council dissolves them sooner. Because if a new council comes in December and decides they want to dissolve the charter review committee, they dissolve it. You can never create a committee that can't be dissolved, right?
Right.
Except if it's created by state law, right? So I think the number of membership, having a council member being one of those members, the scope, is it going to be the entire review of the entire charter? Now, the problem we ran into in the past is that charter review committee went off for a year, reviewed the whole charter, then delivered, 45 changes to you and said, put them on the docket, put them on the ballot. The council looked at that and said, too many, and you had your right to say, no, we're only going to put 3. So the question I have is, whatever you do with the charter review, you've got to give them expectations that just because they go off and they come up with 45 changes, that may not be the number of changes the council puts on the ballot, because it gets confusing. We had this discussion, so those of you on the council, there's a big discussion that nobody's going to read 45 changes and
vote on.
and vote on.
Right, right.
So some towns say things like, we hire a charter review committee to review form of government, terms of office, right? Things like 2 or 3 things that say, go review those and report back. But if you say the entire charter, be prepared that you may get a very, very large list. So those are the 2 dynamics. You either give them a scope that's very small with a specific list, or you tell them to go review the charter, which is fine, but just understand you're gonna have to pare it down, and when you appoint them, you're gonna let them know that you're gonna go and give us all your suggestions, and that may not be all, we may not bite that all off in one election.
And I think we'd have to be very specific in terms of what we're tasking them to, because even if you say the whole charter, I mean, you could be looking at just inconsistencies within the charter from chapter to chapter.
Yep,
right?
there is.
Just that would be overwhelming.
Well, there were a number of provisions of the charter that are inconsistent with state law and are technically inapplicable as we speak, that never got changed because of the reason I told you. They were one of the 45 on the 45 list. Yeah. That kind of thing. I mean, the bottom line, there's some language about open records, and at the end of the day, state law controls open records and open meetings. Nothing you can put in your charter can ever supersede that, right? So I'm giving you some examples. So I think that's the direction. If the council wants the whole charter review, great, fine, check that box. How many members? Need to know. One of the members should be a council person. That way that council person can come back every month during the 5-month period, the 6-month period, or whatever period you pick, and give you a report. Instead of having a charter review committee come, because it's really only the final report that matters. Here's 35 changes, 12 changes. So this gets, you've done this a couple of times. You've done it once during my tenure, where I was party to it, and then then you did it once, like 7 years before that or something. Does that make sense?
That seems like a big task to.
It is a big task.
To send people off, and then, if you think about the time frame, and then they're gonna come back, and you're only gonna accept a quarter of what needs to be changed, it probably should just go by section, and just kind of focus and know it's gonna be a long time frame, that we're gonna just keep going section by section,
I know. It's funny, I don't think people really understand the changing of a charter and how difficult and how lengthy a process it is, I hear people say, well, why don't you change that in the charter? Okay,
And I think the
Just not
other
happening.
problem that people have with the charter is they seem to think the charter is where you put detail, and charter you don't put detail. You put the bones of the operation. Is there gonna be an elected council?
Right.
How many members on the council? What are their
What day-
terms?
Yeah, yeah.
You know, that kind of thing. What are their powers? But you don't get into the details of things. But that's okay. Our charter is actually, I know people complain about it, but it's actually a very good charter compared to charters across the state. They're all unique, and they're all have certain provisions that grew out of the uniqueness of that particular town.
Right.
Like Providence is a strong mayor form of government. Why? Because the charter commission all wanted to run for mayor. The chairman of the charter commission was, Kevin McKenna.
Oh, my God, Kevin.
And so he was the chairman, and he wanted a strong, he wanted a strong mayor form of government with a lot of powers in the mayor. And he got that through. And that's why Providence charters a strong mayor. Does that make sense? So every council in town has it. Some towns don't have any manager or administrator at all, and that causes problems.
Right.
But, so I think that's what we need to decide. And I'm sorry to go on and on, but I don't want to just have a quick conversation about this, because this is a serious, time-consuming process. Just the resolution that the VP and I worked on took several weeks, lots of, contrary to comments, was very thoughtfully prepared, and it was very consistent with some of, it was very consistent with many of the good charters. It wasn't quickly done. It wasn't done haphazardly. It was done.
No, it was well
the
done.
VP put many, many hours in it. I did, and we reviewed many charters across the state, and I just want you to know, so that you have to tell us how you want to proceed. So that's why we didn't want to have this discussion with something pending in front of you, because then it's only going to get chopped up again. So, do you want 5 members on it? Do you want 7 members?
I like 5 members.
I said 5.
Five, I said 5.
You agree one should be a council person?
Yes.
So that's 2 big issues. Do you think, how long a period of time should you give them to complete the task?
Well, it depends what we're gonna do. Is it gonna be the full charter, or is it just gonna go by sections of it,
Well, I think the benefit here is you have now 2 years.
Right.
So you could say in the first 6 months, focus on government, and then by changing government, you need to change terms. Because if you change government to anything, where you change term limits or anything, those two kind of seem to intersect. You have to kind of evaluate them. So, if you're looking at those things, maybe, okay, what are the main lineages related to government? And then you get that report back. And then once that gets whittled down, and you probably have a series of public hearings over that summer, you would then say, okay, was there anything else? Because the one thing we always seem to come up against is when we need to get questions on the ballot. Not just this issue. We were up against the gun with the police station question. We've been up probably against the gun in other issues in the past, I think, so that would give you 2 full years. And I think in most communities, when they have a charter review commission, they say, okay, for the first year, study it. Get your questions ready. I don't see why, if we don't do this correct by November, December of next year, we don't even need to worry about the deadline, because we would have already had our questions that we can submit. So I think focusing on probably the government, the term structure, maybe the 1 or 2 other areas in the charter, and then seeing how that flushes through. If that's a relatively quick process, then we can expand it. I mean, I don't think there's anything to say we have to stop. We can always amend a resolution like we've done in the past, and look at Hallowell and MBITF and others. I think 6 months is fair. I just didn't want to throw that out there without getting input.
6 months is reasonable.
Yeah, and then go from there, because who knows if the new council's even gonna wanna keep it going, right? So then, now you have a committee who's moving forward, and then it's gonna stop, so.
Yeah, the committee will exist for 6 months to complete the task, or unless sooner dissolved by the council. So the next council doesn't want to have that committee or that makeup, they dissolve it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just the way, that
the way it
happened,
goes.
that happened with, I don't want to bring it up.
No.
Yeah, don't bring it up. It'd be best not to.
So,
let's keep it positive.
do you have a specific list? Did I hear that you've identified the list, or is it going to be?
I would say maybe let's do it the way we did it for when we were soliciting ideas for the proposed
Okay.
amendments. How about before the Tuesday or Wednesday cutoff, or we need the resolution, so maybe by the end of next week, if everyone could just send David
Whatever
areas.
That's not a bad idea.
And then David and I can finalize the resolution and bring it back to the council if that works.
So whatever issue you want the commission to study, if you were to study this section, this issue, form of government, terms of office, anything, if that comes back and there's 10, we put 10 on the list and say, this is the 10 areas we want you to focus on.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we might throw a catch-all about,
Yeah, ties to something.
inconsistencies or something like that, like maybe we'll ask something like that. We tried that in the past to clean up
To clean it
inconsistency.
up, right, yeah.
That might be a way to whittle it down and give them something specific for 6 months, because now they're gonna look at 39 cities and towns, plus charters in other states. That's what they'll probably do, because that's what they always do. And they look for ones they like, and they try to find ones that are best suited for similar populations, a suburban, rural area with the same population, with the same kind of demographic makeup, that's kind of where charters grow from,
Right.
That makes sense?
Yep, makes sense.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay.
Okay,
That's
so
it.
we'll
All right,
send you
so-
our information.
Before the deadline for the next, with the third,
The Thursday meeting.
I need a list of what topics. So I'll have everything else prepared. I know the VP's list, and anybody sends me something, I'll throw it on the list.
Okay.
I know Councilman Purgott still had an issue, but it might have to be done a different way, but you could still throw it on there. We could have them check that.
Yeah, we'll bring back everything.
Bring back up, that make sense? All right.
All right. So the last item is to adjourn.
Well,
All in favor?
We do an open forum.
What?
Do you have to offer open forum?
We did.
Did we?
I put it on the record that Joe was the only one here, and he declined to speak.
That was for the public hearing?
No, it's for open forum.
Public hearing.
Oh, that was for public hearing, oh.
Okay, so
Okay,
we're good.
so
then I'll
open
make,
forum, 1 second, open forum, agenda items only pursuant to 42-46-60, maximum 3 minutes per person. There is only one person left in the audience, and he has decided not to speak, so therefore we're moving to adjourn the meeting.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.